Hey guys, welcome back. So I got a video for y'all today all about this palette right here. This is the Bad Habit Cult Mystics palette. So we are going to talk about the pricing, we'll look at the packaging, we will look at some swatches, I'll talk about the formula of these shadows and how I think they are to work with, and my overall thoughts and opinions on this palette, and then I will also show you a little tutorial on how I did this look right here. So yeah, just gonna chat about this palette, so let's get to it. So starting with pricing and packaging, the price of this palette is $24, which is more than typical Bad Habit beauty palettes, but this one in particular is part of what they call their Luxe series. And they describe that to be more intensity, deeper pigments for an elevated encounter. And then it also says it's formulated with intense pigmentation, so less product is needed. In other words, it packs a punch. So it's supposed to be kind of an elevated formula, so that is their reasoning for the higher price point being $24 versus like 10, 12, 14, 16, something around there. So $24, and the packaging is really pretty on it. It's got kind of the, you know, raised sort of packaging on it. I wouldn't say that the packaging is necessarily a step up. I mean, this is really cool, the kind of layered look, but their packaging is always really good. Like for the price points that they typically have, they always have really pretty packaging. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the packaging is a step up, but I do think that this is a really cool design. I'm not a huge fan of the whole theme of this palette. I think it's a little bit freaky-neaky and it's not really my thing, so I don't love the theme of this palette, but I do think that the design and how they did it is really cool. And you do get a nice functional mirror in here, which is great. So as far as what you get in here, it's an overall kind of, in my opinion, a creative, deep, edgy sort of a theme going on here. You could absolutely create some lighter looks with some of these more neutral colors, but just overall a quick like snapshot look at it, it feels very creative and edgy and a little bit dark to me. So that's what I see as far as kind of a theme going. So as far as what you get for the shadows themselves, there is a little pamphlet in here that, you know, lays over the top that kind of describes the types of shadows that you're getting in here. So these 6 over here are described as pressed powders. It says apply using a brush for best blendability. For a more intense payoff, use a dampened brush. So that is what you're supposed to do with these 6 over here. And then these 4 on this side, the really fun duochrome looking ones, those are described as baked powders. And it says for maximum payoff and shine, apply using a finger. So you've got some really cool kind of different sort of formulas going on in here, at least according to that little pamphlet. So we'll get into what I think about the formula in just a second, but let's look at some swatches. Okay, so starting with the pressed shadows here, these 6. So what I did is I applied them dry, and then I went back in with a dampened brush so you can kind of see what they look like dampened. So tried to show you both options there. So this is Eternal, this is Resurrection, this is Essence, this is Pagan, this is Altered State, this is Vision. Okay, and then now the baked powders, these 4 up here. This one right there is Transcend. Looking in the monitor, I almost couldn't like tell which one that was because it's so duochrome. It looks like a different color in my monitor than it looks in the pan. That one is amazing. So that is Transcend. This is Absolution. This one is Karma. And this one is Illuminate. Also amazing and so duochrome. So let's talk about the formula on these shadows because this is supposed to be a luxe formula, a step above. So let's start with the mattes. So I do think that I can see a slight difference and an improvement in the formula. I think I'm experiencing a little bit less fallout with these mattes, but honestly, I feel like it's such a slight difference. I think if you put these mattes next to the mattes in their other palettes, I don't know that I would automatically realize that it's a different formula. So if it is a difference, it's very, very slight. I do think that they are still a soft shadow, just maybe not quite as soft as the mattes in their other palettes. And then the pressed powders over here that are kind of more metallic-y, shimmery, I do think that they are very pretty, but I really don't know that I can see much of a difference between these and the metallic-y, beautiful colors from their other palettes. I would say still tap off your brush with them. You know, they say that you can use them with a dampened brush. I already do that with their other metallic-y shadows and their other palettes, so I can't really tell a huge difference in those. I do think they're beautiful. I would say use them with a dampened brush. That's how I recommend to use the other ones too. It just steps it up a notch. It helps with the fallout. There is still some fallout with these. It's just one of those, which I think is the same situation with their other palettes and these sort of colors in their other palettes, is that you just don't need very much, which is what they say in their, you know, marketing about this sort of formula, is that it's more intense and a little bit goes a long way. I think the same thing about their others that are similar in formula to these, just that kind of metallic-y, shimmery sort of color. You just don't need a lot of product, and I'm really guilty of getting too much product on my brush, so that is going to create more fallout. So I do notice the same situation with the fallout with these as their other palettes. So that's kind of the situation with these. And then these baked powders over here, I think are just beautiful. They are so duochrome-y, artistic, creative, just fun, different sort of shadows. Do I think that they are super new and super unique for Bad Habit? I would say yes, in that these particular colors are different and really cool, and you get 4 of them, which is awesome. But I can think of a few shadows in some of their other palettes just kind of sprinkled in there that are kind of getting close to this sort of a formula, that were very duochrome-y and shimmery and just creative and fun. So I think that they were getting close to this sort of a shadow, if not even really, really close to it, just sprinkled into a few shadows in some of their other palettes. But I love that you get 4 of them in here because they are really beautiful and creative. So overall thoughts on this palette, I don't think it's a bad palette. I think it's a nice formula palette. I think you can really get some gorgeous eye looks with it. Like I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the theme of it, so that's part of the reason it's not my favorite palette from them. But also, I just love their lower price point. Is this price point justifiable? I don't really know. I think that's going to kind of be a personal decision on your part, like what you think about the price point based on kind of what I've said and the swatches and those sort of things. For me personally, I think it's possibly justifiable, but I just love the idea of their lower price point palettes. That's what made me fall in love with their palettes. So for me, I'm always going to get more excited about those palettes. Those are the ones I love to collect. So those are the ones that I'm going to be most excited about always. So like I said, I don't think this is a bad palette, but it's just not personally my favorite. Okay, so I've already applied some eyeshadow primer and set that. So I'm going to get some of Vision on a Cozette S175 brush. And I'm just going to build this up into my crease and transition area. Now I'm going to get some of Altered State on a flat concealer brush. And this is one of the pressed powders that they say that you can, for a more intense payoff, use a dampened brush. So I've got it on my brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of setting spray and spray that. And then I'm going to build this up on my eyelid. Do a little bit of blending to soften the line between those two colors. I do have just a little bit of fallout from that kind of lid shade, whatever you would call that color, kind of grayish gunmetal sort of color. So I do have a little bit of fallout from that, mainly on this side, probably because I didn't tap off my brush enough. Just going back and adding a little bit more, and I do notice that like the more that I build it on top of itself, using a wet brush, definitely has more of like a metallic-y, not really duochrome, but it kind of catches the light a little bit more. It's very pretty. I'm gonna get some of Pagan on a Bdellium Tools 760 brush. And I'm gonna tap off my brush, and then I'm gonna spray my brush with, again, some setting spray. And I'm gonna use this as my liner. So I'm just gonna line my upper lash line with this. Those shades work really well as liners, which is fun. Okay, so now I'm gonna take some of Karma on that same brush. I just wiped it off. Now this is one of the baked powders that it doesn't specifically say that you can use it with a damp brush, but it just says, for maximum payoff and shine, apply using a finger. But I want to play with this as a liner as well. So got some on my brush and I'm gonna spray it with my setting spray. And I'm gonna go over that black with just a little bit of this blue, just for fun, to see kind of what happens. That's fun, just gave a little hint of duochrome blue in there. I like that. Now I'm gonna apply some mascara to my upper lashes. I'm gonna use my It Cosmetics Superhero and I'll be right back. Okay, and I also went ahead and applied some concealer and some powder. So now for my lower lash line, I'm gonna get some of Vision on a BH Cosmetics number 10 brush. Tap off my brush and then just softly apply this. I did want kind of a smoky look because I think this palette overall just kind of lends itself to that sort of a look. I mean, it doesn't have to because there's definitely a lot of neutrals that you could do a more neutral look, but just the overall feel to it seems like kind of a deeper, more dramatic palette. Now I'm gonna get some of Illuminate on a pencil brush, tap off my brush, and I am gonna spray it. Again, this is one of the baked powders, but that they say like apply with your finger, but I really can't get into the inner corner of my eye accurately with my fingers, so I'm gonna use a pencil brush. So tap this off and I'm gonna spray it, and I'm gonna put some of this on the inner corner of my eye. Oh my goodness, how fun is this? And I'm also gonna bring this in just a little bit to kind of tie it in here. So just a little pop of fun, wow, on the inner corner. I went ahead and wiped off my pencil brush, so there's no product on it right now, so I'm just kind of going over that to soften and blend it a little bit just on the inner corner. And now I'm just gonna finish up with some mascara on my lower lashes. I'm gonna use my CoverGirl Clump Crusher. Alright guys, so that wraps up this video. So hope that you really enjoyed it and hope it was helpful for you. Please do a thumbs up if it was, and let me know down below what you think about this palette. I love hearing your thoughts and opinions, so let me know that down below. Ask me any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer those. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!